Welcome to Speak Forward English, where we help you master the language with confidence.
Hey there! Welcome back to Speak Forward English. I'm Sophia.
And I'm Jerry. Thanks so much for joining us today, everyone.
So, before we dive in, if you're new here or if you've been enjoying our content, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps us out, and you'll get fresh English lessons delivered to you every single day.
Absolutely. We put our new content daily, so subscribing means you won't miss anything. All right, so today we're tackling something that I know confuses a lot of English learners.
Oh yeah? What's that?
The word would. It seems simple, right? But it has so many different uses.
Oh my gosh, yes. I remember when I was teaching English abroad, students would always ask me, why do you use would here but not there? And honestly, it took me a while to break it down in a way that made sense.
Right? It's one of those words that native speakers use automatically without thinking. But when you actually have to explain it, it gets complicated fast.
Exactly. So let's start with probably the most common use, which is talking about hypothetical situations or imaginary scenarios.
Yes, the classic if sentences. Like, if I had $1 million, I would travel the world.
Perfect example. So in that sentence, you're talking about something that's not real, right? You don't actually have $1 million.
Sadly, no. Not yet, anyway.
Right, not yet. But the point is, you're imagining what you would do in that situation. The would signals that this is hypothetical, not actual.
And this is super common in everyday conversation. Like, if someone asks you, what would you do if you won the lottery? They're asking about an imaginary situation.
Exactly. And you might answer, I would buy a house, or I would quit my job, things like that.
Right. Now, here's where it gets interesting. We can also use would to talk about past habits, things that used to happen regularly.
Ooh, yes. This one trips people up because they think would is only for hypotheticals. But actually, when you're reminiscing about the past, would is really useful.
Can you give us an example?
Sure. When I was a kid, I would visit my grandparents every summer. That means it was a repeated action in the past.
Right. And it's pretty much the same as saying, I used to visit my grandparents every summer.
Exactly. Used to and would are very similar when talking about past habits, but there's a subtle difference.
Oh, what's that?
Well, would is more about repeated actions, while used to can describe states or habits. For example, I used to live in California, but you wouldn't say, I would live in California.
Oh, interesting. So used to works for both states and habits, but would is specifically for repeated actions.
Precisely. You're catching on quick.
Well, I try. Okay, so we've covered hypothetical situations and past habits. What else?
All right. Another big use is for polite requests. This is super important for everyday English.
Oh yeah, this is essential. Like, instead of saying, can you help me, which is direct, you might say, would you help me, which sounds more polite.
Exactly. The would softens the request. It makes it sound less demanding, more courteous.
And Americans use this all the time. Like, would you mind closing the window? Or, would it be possible to reschedule our meeting?
Yes, those are perfect examples. And here's a tip for learners. In American English, we often say, would you mind plus an ing verb, like, would you mind helping me, or would you mind waiting a moment?
That's a great point. And if someone asks you, would you mind, remember that no, I wouldn't mind, actually means yes, you'll do it.
Oh gosh, yes. That confuses people so much. If someone says, would you mind opening the door, and you say no, you're saying no, you don't mind, which means yes, you'll open it.
English is weird sometimes.
It really is. Okay, let's talk about another use, making offers or invitations.
Right. Like, would you like some coffee? Or would you like to join us for dinner?
perfect examples. This is much more polite than saying, "Do you want coffee?" Though, honestly, Americans use both in casual settings.
True. With friends, you might just say, want some coffee? But in more formal situations or with people you don't know well, would you like is definitely better.
Absolutely. And you can also use it to offer help, like, "Would you like me to carry that for you?"
Yes. Or, would you like some help with that?
Exactly. Now, here's another use that's really common but often overlooked: expressing preference.
Oh, like, I would prefer or I would rather?
Yes. For example, "I would prefer tea over coffee," or "I would rather stay home tonight."
Right. And there's also I'd rather, which is the contraction. Like, I'd rather not talk about it.
Good point. Contractions are super common with would. I'd, you'd, he'd, she'd, we'd, they'd.
And when you're speaking, you almost always use the contraction. It sounds more natural.
Definitely. Like, instead of saying, "I would love to go," you'd probably say, "I'd love to go."
Exactly. So, we've covered quite a bit. Let me see if I can recap. We have would for hypothetical situations, past habits, polite requests, offers and invitations, and expressing preferences.
You got it. But wait, there's more.
Of course there is. What else?
Okay, so would can also be used for talking about predictions or assumptions, especially with "I think" or "I guess."
Can you give an example?
Sure, "I think she would enjoy this movie," or "He would probably say no if you asked him."
Ah, so you're making a guess about what someone would do or how they would react.
Exactly. It's not certain, but it's your prediction based on what you know about that person.
That makes sense. And this is different from using will for predictions, right?
Yes. Will is more definite, like "It will rain tomorrow" based on the weather forecast, but "It would rain if those clouds moved in" is more hypothetical or conditional.
Got it. Okay. What about using would to talk about willingness or refusal?
Oh, good one. Yes. You can use would and wouldn't to describe whether someone was willing to do something in the past.
Like, she wouldn't listen to me, meaning she refused to listen.
Exactly. Or "He would always help me with my homework," meaning he was always willing to help.
Right. And this is different from didn't. Like, she didn't listen is just a fact, but she wouldn't listen implies she refused or was unwilling.
Perfect distinction. You're really getting the hang of this.
Well, I'm explaining it pretty well, I think. All right, before we continue, if you're finding this helpful, please subscribe to Daily English Listening. We create content like this every single day to help you improve your English.
Yes, and leave a comment if you have questions or topics you'd like us to cover. We love hearing from you all.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's talk about some common phrases and expressions that use would.
Great idea. There are so many. Like, "I would say" is used all the time to give an opinion or estimate.
Right. Like, I would say there were about 50 people at the party.
Exactly. Or "I would say she's pretty talented."
And then there's would you believe, which is used to express surprise or disbelief.
Yes. Like, "Would you believe she's actually 60 years old? She looks 40."
Right. It's a way of saying, can you believe this? Or this is surprising.
Exactly. Now, another common one is "would have," which we use for past conditionals or regrets.
Oh, this is important. Like, I would have gone to the party if I had known about it.
Perfect. So you're talking about something that didn't happen and explaining what you would have done if the situation had been different.
Right. And people often use this to express regret. Like, I would have studied harder if I had known the test would be so difficult.
Yes. And in casual speech, we contract this too. "I would have" becomes "I would have," or even sounds like "I woulda."
Yeah. In fast speech, it definitely sounds like woulda. Like, I would have gone if you'd asked me.
Exactly. And actually, a lot of learners get confused because they hear "woulda" and think it's "would of," but it's actually "would have."
Oh, that's such a common mistake. Even native speakers write would have sometimes, but it's grammatically incorrect.
Right, it's always would have or would've, never would of.
Good clarification. All right, what about I wish sentences? Those use would a lot too, right?
They do, like, I wish you would stop doing that, or I wish it would stop raining.
Right. So you're expressing a desire for something to change or be different.
Exactly. And this is slightly different from I wish I had or I wish I were, which are about impossible or contrary to fact situations.
Can you break that down a bit more?
Sure. So, I wish you would call me more often is about something that could happen in the future. You're expressing a desire for someone to change their behavior.
Okay, got it.
But I wish I were taller or I wish I had more money is about a current state that you can't easily change. These don't use would.
Ah, interesting. So would in I wish sentences is specifically for actions or changes you want someone or something to make.
Exactly. You're catching on great.
Thanks. Okay, so, let's talk about some more practical examples that people might use in everyday life.
Good idea. Let's do some workplace examples first.
Okay. How about, would it be all right if I left early today?
Perfect. That's a polite request using would, much better than just saying, can I leave early?
Right. And your boss might respond, I would appreciate it if you could finish that report first.
Exactly. That's a polite way of making a request or setting a condition.
Or you might say to a colleague, would you be able to cover my shift on Friday?
Yes, would you be able to is a great polite phrase for asking if something is possible.
And what about in a restaurant or coffee shop?
Oh, great context. You'd say things like, I would like a cappuccino, please, or we would like to order now.
Right. And the waiter might ask, would you like anything else? Or would you care for dessert?
Would you care for is very polite and formal. You don't hear it as much in casual settings, but in nicer restaurants, definitely.
True. What about when giving advice? Would comes up there too, right?
Absolutely. Like, if I were you, I would apologize, or I would recommend seeing a doctor about that.
Right. It's softer than saying you should or you must.
Exactly. I would makes it sound like a suggestion rather than a command. It's less pushy.
And people appreciate that. Nobody likes being told what to do.
It's so true. All right, let's talk about some common mistakes learners make with would.
Oh, this is helpful. What's the most common one you see?
Probably using would when they should use will, like saying, I would call you tomorrow when they mean, I will call you tomorrow.
Ah, right. Because would makes it sound hypothetical or conditional, like you might not actually call.
Exactly. If you're making a definite plan, use will. Would suggests uncertainty or a condition.
What's another common mistake?
Forgetting to use would in both parts of a conditional sentence, like saying, if I had money, I'd buy a car.
Instead of, I would buy a car.
Exactly. You need that would to complete the conditional structure.
Right. And what about pronunciation? Any tips there?
Oh, definitely. So the L in would is often silent or very subtle in fast speech, so it sounds more like would than would.
Yeah. And like we mentioned earlier, would have becomes woulda in casual speech.
Right, and would not becomes wouldn't. Make sure to practice that contraction because it's used constantly.
Good point. All right, let's do some practice examples. I'll start a sentence and you finish it with the correct use of would.
Ooh, fun. Okay, go ahead.
If I could fly,
I would travel all over the world without paying for plane tickets.
Perfect. Okay, next one. When I was younger, my dad...
My dad would take me fishing every weekend.
Excellent. Past habit. Okay. Excuse me. You mind if I open the window?
Would you mind if I opened the window? Polite request.
Great. One more. I wish...
I wish you would text me back faster.
Perfect. See, everyone listening? These are all different uses of would, and once you practice them, they start to feel natural.
Absolutely. And honestly, the best way to learn is to listen to native speakers and notice when they use would.
Right. That's why subscribing to Daily English Listening is so valuable. You get to hear natural English conversation every day.
Yes, and we cover different topics, different contexts, so you see how these words are used in real life, not just in textbooks.
Exactly. Textbooks are great, but they can't capture the natural flow of conversation.
So true. All right, let's talk about a few more advanced uses before we wrap up.
Sounds good. What do you have in mind?
Well, there's would rather, which we touched on briefly, but it's worth exploring more.
Okay. So would rather is used to express preference, right?
Yes, like, I would rather stay home than go out tonight.
And you can shorten it to I'd rather.
Exactly. And there's also would rather followed by someone else doing something, like, I would rather you didn't smoke in here.
Oh, interesting. So you're expressing a preference about someone else's action.
Right, and notice the grammar there. Would rather plus the subject plus the past tense verb, even though you're talking about the present or future.
That's a bit tricky. Can you give another example?
Sure. So, I'd rather we met tomorrow instead of today.
Got it. Even though it's about the future, you use met in the past tense.
Exactly. It's one of those weird English grammar things.
English is full of those. All right, what else?
There's also would like to have for talking about past wishes or regrets.
Like, I would like to have seen that movie.
Yes, though actually, that's a bit formal. More commonly, you'd say, I would have liked to see that movie.
Ah, okay. So would have liked is more natural than would like to have.
Generally, yes. In spoken English, definitely.
Good to know. All right, we've covered so much today. Let's do a quick recap of all the uses of would we've discussed.
Great idea. So we have hypothetical situations with if, past habits, polite requests, offers and invitations, expressing preferences, predictions and assumptions, willingness or refusal, and past conditionals with would have.
That's a lot.
It really is. But the good news is, once you start noticing these patterns, they become easier to use naturally.
Absolutely. And remember, everyone, the key is practice and exposure. Listen to English as much as you can, notice how would is used, and try using it yourself in conversation.
Yes, don't be afraid to make mistakes. That's how you learn.
Exactly. And if you found this lesson helpful, please subscribe to Daily English Listening. We create new content every day to help you improve.
And leave us a comment. Let us know if this was helpful, if you have questions, or if there are other topics you'd like us to cover.
We love hearing from our listeners. It really helps us know what you need.
Absolutely. All right, I think that wraps up our lesson on would for today.
Yeah, I think we covered it pretty thoroughly.
We did. Thanks so much for listening, everyone.
Keep practicing, keep listening, and we'll see you tomorrow with another lesson.